Alright, hey guys, good morning. We're going to be talking about some review stuff because I won't see most of you between now and the exam on Wednesday. So, the first thing I want to say is we're going to be fine. We got this. We've been talking about this stuff all year. It's going to be easy. You've taken plenty of Cambridge exams by now. It's all good. And Wednesday, we have the easier one, as I said all last week and the week before. Alright, we are going to be reviewing a little bit about what's going to be on that exam potentially in this video. But remember, it's a DBQ. You're going to have sources to pull from. Always, always, always read the questions first. Always, always, always do question B first, because that requires you to use all four sources, and then move on to question A, right? Which is just going to require you to do two sources. This is where we make our money though, and everything's going to be great. Right? So the first thing we're going to focus on is that 1820 westward expansion, war with Mexico time period. Because it's kind of a big deal because it sets up the whole entire conflict for the causes of the Civil War. Now the easiest place to start would be Manifest Destiny. We talked a lot about that in class. It's all about westward expansion. It is our God-given right to expand. But as we continue to expand, we came up with problems. And those problems led to conflict, possible fighting. So the first two things we should know about are things that go hand in hand, created by our guy, Henry Bay, the king who was never president. He gave us two beautiful, amazing things, the Missouri Compromise, or the Compromise of 1820, and the American system. We're going to talk about both right now. So the American system was an economic idea that really created a strong, growing American economy during the 1820s up until the Civil War. This set everything up. What it did was high taxes, or high tariffs. A tariff, as we've said all year, is a tax on imported goods. So we don't want to buy stuff from other countries. We want to build stuff and buy stuff that's made here in America. That'll boost up the economy for everybody. So a high tariff leads to roads, canals, and railroads. All that tax money we got from the high tariff led to creation of roads, canals, and railroads, most of which were in the north. We're going to come back to that later. Most of which were in the north. Then, because of these roads, canals, and railroads, we were able to ship raw materials from the south to the north. Cheaper and quicker. And anytime you do things on a cheaper and quicker level, it's good for everybody. The quicker your farmed goods get to the market, the more you're going to sell, and the more you sell, the more money you make, the more food people are buying, the healthier they're going to be, the harder they're going to work, the more productive they will be. So this is a very good thing for America as a whole. Those raw materials are then shipped from the south to the north and turned into manufactured goods. We're going to shorten that into manu goods. Once they're manufactured in the factories in the north, they're going from the north back down to the south and sold for profit. Now this is, as we said early in the year, one of the very few science things I know would be a symbiotic relationship. Right? A symbiotic relationship would show the north, the south, they're working together, they're making money off of each other, and neither can really survive without the other. But, as we talked about, manufactured goods are more expensive than those raw materials. So the north is making more money off of the south, and that's creating that big bad thing that we've talked about, sectional tension. Alright, so This is something to remember. More money for the North, more railroads, roads, and canals in the North. It's all leading to sectional tension, which is a big deal for us. We have got to remember sectional tension is what ends up causing the Civil War. Notice I have not said one word about slavery yet. That is something to keep in mind because in the South, we're going to have plenty of farms. In the North, we're going to have plenty of factories. We don't have slaves in the factories. We only have them down south in the farmland. So slavery and sectionalism are kind of going hand in hand with each other. Now, as we were expanding out to the west to get more land, to grow more stuff, to have more raw materials, we're going to end up acquiring more territories. And the more territories we acquire ends up causing some kind of conflict. Is it going to be a slave state? Is it going to be a free state? And all we worry about is keeping balance between the Senate, the number of senators, the population, all that stuff creates big potential problems. Sectional tension, right? So, our guy Henry Clay comes up with the Missouri Compromise. Now, the Missouri Compromise was simple. In 1820, Missouri's going to be a slave state. That's going to freak people out because we would have had more slave states than free states. So what do? We break away Maine from Massachusetts, and Maine becomes a free state. This sets the precedent that we would always keep a balance. Anytime we add a slave state, we're going to add a free state and vice versa. Right? So sets precedent to maintain balance. I don't know if I just spelled maintain wrong. Now this is all good. This sounds perfect on paper except for that one last point. And that is our 36 by 30 line. That might also be spelled wrong. It's not a spelling test though, we're fine. Basically, no slavery in territories above this line. And if we are able to visualize a map, we would remember most of the territory that the United States is going to acquire during this time period is above that line, which means the North is going to get more land, the North is going to get more raw materials, the North is going to get more resources, which would lead to more money for the North and create more sectional tension. We see how both of these ideas to stop the Civil War and create a strong, booming economy for the United States during this time period ends up helping the North out a lot more than the South, which is not the best thing when our goal is to maintain peace. So we have this idea created by a slave owner in Henry Clay, a guy who we talked about running for president multiple times, a guy who we talked about as the great compromiser, even though he staved off potential conflict during his time period in 1820. It sets the stage for what the war is going to be as of 1860. All right, all of our problems can be traced back to this idea, this time period. All right? We need to remember that everything we did moving forward, we're trying to keep that balance. We're trying to keep things on an equal footing. But over time, based on the American system, based on the distribution of infrastructure within the country, everything seems to be favoring the North. And the South is not going to be cool with that. So tension is going to continue to build over time.